Hi everyone. Very nice to be live again. We'll just give a few minutes for our guest to join. Hi Mohit Kant. Nice that you've joined and so early. We'll just give us a minute. We're very excited. This is the second time that Dr. Anita and I are going to be talking. Oh man. Okay, just give us a minute. We seem to have a problem. Good to see Ricard also join. And we're having some technical issues with our guest. But we have picked up a very interesting topic to talk about. And I think it's going to be quite daunting, almost, I would say. Mysticism, philosophy, living mindfully, and writing. That must... Yes, go ahead, Mohit. Please go ahead and share. That'll be great. Let me just see what's happened to... Hi, Veronica. Nice to see you. I'm just having some problem with the guest. So let me see. We have quite an international audience joining today. There you are.
Yeah.
Hi, Dr. Sven. Dr. Anita, it's really nice to have you. You gave me a bit of a scare because I was not able to add you, and I kept getting the message you're not able to join.
Yeah. Even I was wondering where is it, so I was waiting for the past 2-3 minutes. Thank you for this lovely meet today. It was very interesting last time. I think we're looking forward to the conversations again.
Absolutely. I've got so many people who've joined, and I think it's really wonderful. I'm hoping that we justify the time that they're all spending, because when I was looking at the topics that we've put across, Doctor, I think it's quite a daunting task. We want to talk about mysticism, philosophy, living mindfully, and writing. So before I start off, I think a very warm welcome to all of our audience, viewers who've joined. I think these are all mostly our friends, family, and our well-wishers. So a very heartfelt thanks to all of you. Please keep this very active. We want to hear from you. Please keep those comments coming in. If you have questions, we'll try to answer it. Now, before I get started, today we are here to talk to Dr. Anita about her book, which is Shiva Shakti. As you can see, it's got a lovely cover. And Dr. Anita needs no introduction. She's written several books. The last time we had her and we talked about inner voice. I have all her books, and I'm waiting for the next few to come about as well. And if everyone knows her, she's a hypnotherapist. She's written. She's deeply spiritual. She's very philosophical. So today we thought the two of us would discuss anything and everything under the sun, anything on the planet, but try and focus what's driving us, what's motivating us. And let me start, Dr. Anita. This book is really, I did not expect it when I started reading it, because the cover as well as what you've written at the back, kind of just doesn't really. It's a surprise. It's a startling, treatise, I would almost say. And in every chapter, it almost seems like it's a treatise on love and relationships. Can you tell us a little bit about this book and how you came about it, and what was your intention when you started writing this?
Okay, so this book was a surprise to me also. I was already on the book The Awakened Sign, which will come now. So that was the actual plan, to publish that book first. And this book just came about. So it was like this COVID times, and we were all, locked in our houses, sitting at 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. contemplating, like a deep thinker like you. So been contemplating on a lot of things, and somehow these things just started coming up, these answers. There was a lot of connection with Shiva, with Mount Kailasha. That was the time I began writing small, things. And then I started posting them in my WhatsApp group and stuff. So people loved what I wrote, and they wanted more of it. And they kept asking, can we have more? Can we have more? And then it just kind of prompted me to write more. So every day I would wake up and think, now what? What next? So somehow it just started flowing. And then someone suggested, why don't you make it into a book? And then it was all compiled into a book. I think the book came about very quickly. This was not something which was planned at all. I think it's just the grace of, Shiva itself, like this has come. I think it was something that has come about to help a lot of people to understand what relationships are all about, how masculine, feminine operate in a relationship. There are so many times we have this confusion, and we want the other to, we expect them to emote or fulfill our, what we want in love. And that's never so. There's so much deep, there's so much that's going on within everybody. Just beneath the surface of the, persona, we have so intricate, and we have so many dimensions to us as human beings. Masculine and feminine exist in all of us. And if we can understand that, and if we can become into awareness of that, I think we can, live our lives more amicably, much more in harmony with each other. So
And
that was the intention.
so when you, based on, a lot of times when people read my poems, they often ask, is this something that I've experienced? Is this something I've felt? Sometimes it is, sometimes it's also a leap of imagination. How much of what you've written has come from your own experience, and how much of it is your own observation, or dare I say, divine intervention to tell you what to write about?
I think 40% is an experiences, my own experiences. And the rest 60 would be interventions, definitely.
And if you have to, I want to be like a little cheeky and say, what would you tell us about love? What would your advice be to all of us and the viewers over here on how to live
Love
through
is
relationships?
love is such a deep word, it's like about, I mean, we just say it's very simple, one person loves another, but that's not how it is. There is so much going on. Love is so deep, because for me, love would be different from what love means to you, and love would mean something different to someone else. But what I have experienced in love is something very, very deep, almost a connection of Shiv Shakti, you can say. So I feel that when we can experience um, that touch, that divine touch in a love relationship, which helps us grow. That love may last, the love may not last, the love may be with you, the love may not be with you. You might experience it maybe just for a minute, you might experience it for a lifetime. But if you can experience that love, which is very, very deep, I think we come closer to experiencing God. And when we can come closer to experience, I think love is also a way to reach God, just the way we have mantras, or we have, karmas, and, how we say you're a karma yogi, or we are, different kind of yogas we have to reach God. I think love is also one of the most beautiful and a very deep way to reach God. That is my interpretation of God. Love.
I mean, it's a great interpretation, but how do you balance this deep love with, who's
It's
going to
very
pay
difficult.
the domestic bills and who's going to pick up the kids, and how do you do that? Because you've talked about love in its pure essence, that's how it's supposed to be, and you've also talked about love may last or not. Isn't love meant to be permanent, right? Isn't love meant to be, how do you navigate love and relationship when you know that it's supposed to be pure, but on the other hand, the daily domesticity might kind of, give it some rough edges? Isn't it like very theoretical?
The balance between both, because you have to be grounded and at the same time you have to be expanded in your consciousness. So everything that happens, everything that you're doing, if you do it out of the same love that you're experiencing, so love is not meant for one person. It will only help you. That person is just a way or a medium, or just a element to experience that love. Then the love has to go towards the entire universe. I mean, then you have to expand it into your cooking, into your work, into your children, into everything. When you can do that, when you can come bring about that love, what you experience, into the entire being of your completedness, what you are as a consciousness, when everything, even in your pain, even in your suffering, even in your karmas, if you can bring that love there, it's a task. It's a task. It's like the Kundalini rising again. It's very similar to that.
And some parts of it, I think, I get glimpses of it. I feel like I've understood some of it, and then when you get into the daily humdrum of life, you tend to forget. And what you talked about, right? Love has to be pervading everything. I agree with this. It's, there's a sense of awareness that you have to lead your life, to be aware of the thought that every person that you come across, everyone that you encounter is there for a purpose, whatever minuscule purpose that might be, or however small a fraction of a second that person is there in your life, whether it's an animal, person, the situation, there is
Yeah,
a sense of
anything.
universal acceptance, empathy towards that person, to say, yes, there is a journey, there's a part of the journey that you're supposed to go together, and that awareness, right? Which brings us to the second thing around living mindfully. Now, we say this a lot of times, and my own experience is it's it's like you keep climbing a certain phase, or a certain mental wavelength, to reach a place where you're able to grasp some level of consciousness, universal consciousness, some level of understanding of your own self and your circumstance. And that takes, it's like this thin sliver, this wisp of smoke that you have to hold on to remain mindful. Otherwise it kind of dissipates, and you fall back into the daily humdrum of life, and the all the petty feelings and connections, right? My own experience has been to ground myself or anchor myself in some level of stillness. What is your experience, and what is your view of mindfulness, and how do you bring that?
I think mindfulness is also a very deep subject, and mindfulness has to happen in every area of a life. I might be mindful, same in my emotions. I might not be mindful about my food habits. I might be mindful about how I'm dealing with people, but I might not be mindful about how I'm dealing with money. So, being mindful about the various aspects of your life. So we might be mindful in, like, say, we have 10 different directions in our life that we're dealing with. We might be mindful in 5 or 6 or 4. And slowly we have to bring it in every area of our life, in every dimension. And it's a task. It's a task that we have to keep working on. Like you say, daily groundedness. We have to bring ourselves. Secondly, we have to always come back to the body. So every time we are expanding our consciousness, there will be a tendency of moving out of the body all the time. So you will not be able to feel what you're feeling. So how am I feeling? When you keep getting into your feeling, what do I feel now? What do I feel now? How does this feel? When you can get into that, because so many times I might be in a situation where I might be feeling very unsafe, but I might not even be aware of it. I might be in a trauma bonding, but I might not be aware of it. I might be thinking this is real, true love that I'm all about. So being mindful means bringing back yourself, your consciousness back to yourself and being in full awareness of your body, mind and soul. All the three have to be in alignment at all times, which is again not easy. It is a task. We have to keep working at it. And
No,
there are
I
different ways to keep working at it.
I agree, and sometimes I think, and Joe Ahuja has written she's put in a very nice comment, which is love as such. The word seems overrated. We'll not go into. I think when you break down love, what does it mean? It's kindness, compassion, genuinely interested, the empathy, all of it, right? And I think when you incorporate all of it, and when you feel for the other person, and of course there's also a sense of acceptance, and I don't think for a minute we're suggesting that anyone accepts things that they're not meant to, which is not right. That's not what we mean. You don't become a doormat, but certainly putting yourself in the other person's shoes, just wondering, not questioning the intention, go with a positive approach and intention. I think all of that actually makes a big difference to how you view
True.
the world, how you view yourself, your own reactions or responses to the world. I think that makes a lot of sense. Are there any
Yes.
specific practices what is your daily routine and how do you manage to stay mindful or live mindfully?
I think it's a 24 hours work. It's a job which we have to do 24 hours till we come into a complete, constant, continuous space where you're doing it automatically. It starts with daily meditations, or you start with your chanting, or you start with, so many, you can do it with yoga practices. You can do it like as simple as being in nature, feeling the tree, feeling the bark of the tree, feeling the texture of the leaf, uh, thinking like you think when you look at a word. So we can start becoming mindful through that. These are experiences which help us become mindful, not just meditations. Meditations are a great way to do that, but like painting, drawing, skill, any other creative abilities that we can do, any creative arts, definitely you can learn to be mindful with that.
I think you have to lose yourself to find yourself. That's what I believe. And a lot of times,
It's a constant.
it
It's a constant
is.
losing yourself and fight. It's that's the Shiv Tantra, the play of the Shiv and Shakti,
No, no, absolutely.
the
Because
pull and the
I,
push.
I think I think the whole thing is you start with a little bit of a practice which just allows you to experience what stillness is, which allows you to go deep within yourself, and understand. You're literally in a very calm, pool or an ocean. You close your eyes, and all you can hear is the warmth and the sound of Om, perhaps, or some universal energy. And I think once you start getting into it, then it becomes, you slip into a meditative state, or anything you do is done with mindfulness and meditatively, right? Even your reactions. No matter how fast paced the world is, there's all life is lived in the pause between actions, and meaning is inferred in the pause between words, right? So I think that's how you get into it. So yes,
Even the
you
breath.
make a big
Pause between the breaths.
between the breath. Yes. And I think Henna Tareja is also comments very nice. Being in the present is the way I follow to be mindful. Being honest with how I feel at any given point in time. Being true to myself is the way to happiness. Very well said, Henna.
Perfect.
And
Very well
I think
said.
several of us, we all have our own ways. I think the one thing is people say start living mindfully, and people say how do I live mindfully? Mindful is what? Being in touch with your own self, with your own emotions, having an understanding of what's happening around. So that self-awareness, and that comes with practice. And why is meditation prescribed? Because that allows you to understand what mindfulness is, and therefore you start to practice it. How has
Yes.
mindfulness or the practice of meditation or anything else that you do informed your writing? How much of an influence has it had?
I didn't get your question. How much of
I
mindfulness
said,
has
how much
meditations
of
has what?
has an influence on your writing, right? Is it?
Oh,
I'm sure it's very deeply interlinked because of the topics that you write about, right? But if you were not writing about these topics, would it be any different? What's your view?
yeah, I don't
And
think
I
I'm the
invite the
normal
audience
writer who would
also
get
to
into a
please comment.
story writing.
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't think I'm a writer who would ever go and write a story or a novel or any book like that. For me, it is just compilation of all that what I'm downloading as a human being. So I feel that life is a school, and when you understand each moment that what is life teaching me, and how is it am I supposed to be in this situation, when you start with that, when you like how you take a word and you start getting into it. I take a situation and get into it. I think take human behavior and get into it. So very similarly we do that, so your deep thinking can be in any aspect of your life. Once we can learn to do that, we will definitely start understanding of what is really happening. Then there is so much knowledge that gets downloaded, and there is so much of information I feel that is coming to me, and I felt that there should be some way that I can pass it on to people. There should be some way that I can put this across for more people to read it. So I think this was a good way that where I started writing the book and I could pass it on, something that would live long after I'm gone.
And that it's a very interesting thought. Long after I'm gone. So, have you ever thought about legacy and what you want to leave behind? And I'll tell you why I'm
Just
asking that
my
question.
writings.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So someone asked me, what legacy do you want to leave behind? And I said, nothing. If I'm not there, how does it matter whether there is something of me or there isn't, right? The writing, if it
Yes.
stays, it stays. Otherwise, how should I be bothered about what's left after that? It might
Yes.
be a very different world that
It
I go into after
doesn't
this,
matter
right?
at all. If I have to
Yeah.
leave any legacy behind in terms of material aspects of my life, then I'm definitely not completed my karma. So I would choose to complete all my karma and detach from the world completely rather than wanting to leave something in form of legacy.
Yeah, I guess I think, and oftentimes I feel that and that's one of the things that we forget about living in the moment and mindfulness, because we are either thinking about all the things that happened to us in the past or worried about what legacy or what future we're going to leave behind, and that sort of influences how we live today. So a lot of times we're not living right here, right now, in the moment. We're
No,
perpetually worried or living in fear or living in anxiety about what's going to happen, or perhaps regrets about what we could have done or what we've missed out. So, I'd like to get some reactions from the people who are listening as well. Is there something that you'd like to ask, anything that you'd like us to discuss or debate upon? Because one of the things, this whole thing about living mindfully is also accepting and taking control of your decisions, right? And I think a lot of times regrets come in because we
100%.
feel I didn't control it. It wasn't my decision. It was thrust upon me. It was my father to be blamed, my mother to be blamed, my boss or my neighbor or whoever it is, husband, wife, things like that. I feel that leads to a lot of regret and just a lack of accountability in people. And I feel that when
But
you
even that
lose that
is a
sense of
choice, no?
control,
If I've allowed anyone to put their decisions on me and I've allowed it, and I always had a choice. I always had a choice to not allow it. So there are always choices that I make. Even if somebody else has put anything on me and because of it something has happened in my life or someone else's life, it is still my responsibility. I have to take responsibility for my share, because making a choice, every situation, everywhere you go, you have a choice. I have a choice to be in this interview or not be in this interview. I have a choice to speak the whatever words I'm speaking, right? We always have a choice, minute to minute. Not making a choice is also a choice.
Yeah. You are a sum total of all the decisions you've taken in the past, of all the choices that you've made in the
Yes.
past. And you're exactly where you're meant to be today because as an outcome of all of that. Right? So that is something that I believe in. And I think uh, Joe Ahuja is asking us some very difficult questions. So we don't know the answers, Joe, but we'll try and see what we can answer. It's just a point of view. Do you believe in destiny or free will, acceptance, surrender? Because nothing is in one's control. So there is this four lines from the Upanishads. I'm not very well versed in any of it. In fact, this is probably the only little piece of information or understanding of verses. It's from the Brihadranika, and it says, "You are what your deep driving desire is. As is your desire, so is your will. As is your will, so is your action. As is your action, so is your destiny." Or it boils down like that. So, do I believe in destiny? Absolutely. And I think destiny is also linked to free will. So you are actually writing out your destiny depending on what you're thinking and the choices that you make. So it is a combination. You absolutely have free will. How do you use that free will, and how do you decide on what you want to do? What is the consequence of your action, or what you want, what you imagine? I think that is something that is going to drive your destiny. You create, so I believe that you create your own destiny. The only difference I feel, and this is something that I've come to discover, is you and people tell you, right? If you want something, you have to ask the universe, it'll manifest, all of that. The caveat to that is things will happen for you as long as it doesn't hurt anyone or doesn't harm. So we keep thinking, why do some of our dreams and aspirations get fulfilled so quickly while others don't? And I feel that it's because you've asked for something which is good, which is of your free will and does not kind of hamper anyone else's or does not harm anyone. So Joe, yes, I too believe in destiny, and I believe I create my own destiny. Dr.
I can give
Anita,
him
what
an
do you
answer
feel?
for. I can give
Yes,
Joe the answer for that. So I can give
yes.
it in a small example of free will and destiny. Okay. Um Let me explain it. Say I want to go from here, Bombay to Pune. So that is in my destiny that I have to travel from Bombay to Pune. That is depending on my karma. So we come with a set of karmas. Okay, there is different types of karmas that we have, and there are certain um, uh, bunch of karmas that we come with to complete in this lifetime. Now, according to that karmas, which is your destiny, you have to travel on a certain day from Bombay to Pune. Okay. Now, where does the free will and where does the choices come in this? Now, free will and choice comes. How do I travel? Do I take a train? Do I take a car? Do I take a airplane, flight? What do I take? That is my choice. That is your free will. Okay, if I take a train, it might take me 4 or 5 hours. It might go in a car, it might take me 3 hours. If I go in a flight, it may take me 1 hour. That is my free will in the larger scheme of things. So there are certain schemes, there are certain things that we come with, which is our destiny, which cannot be changed. But choices will always be that. Choices will always be there. Even in the worst of the karmas, something that you cannot change in your destiny, which you have to face. Say someone has cancer. It is in your destiny. You're going to have 5 years of cancer. You have to suffer in that and you will get out of it. That is your destiny, that karmic pattern or whatever is written in your blueprint, and you have come with that. Now, if you have come with that karma, what is my free will? My free will is what kind of treatment I'm getting, what treatment I'm choosing. Am I choosing medical treatment, Ayurveda treatment? Am I choosing some other natural methods of treating myself? How am I reacting in that situation? Am I cursing God? Am I cursing my family? Am I praying a lot? Am I becoming positive about my health? How am I doing? What am I doing in that? That is my free will and destiny. So that is the decision that I will have to take. And depending on that, say I'm praying a lot and I'm blessing a lot, or I'm, getting into the natural modes along with the allopathy that I'm taking, maybe the 5 year term might get reduced to 3 years or 4 years. Okay, maybe. if that's how depends on the karma or the chunk of karma you have, the kind of prayers that you are doing, the kind of you know response you're giving in the situation. So that is how free will and destiny work hand in hand.
And I think what you've said, Dr. Anita, is exactly what Joe has also put in her comments, which is free will is the reaction. So I think it's, these are very deep topics. They're very closely interlinked. And finally, we're arriving at the same thing, which is our decision. There is free will. What do we choose at that moment? And how do we live our life? And I think a lot of this becomes the answers are, the answers already. It's about remembering the answers is what I feel, right? We all are already pre-programmed with a lot of things. It's a good discussion, I would say. I think this always is, it's always interesting because people say if everything is destiny and karma, then what do I need to do? I don't need to do anything. I can just sit still, right? So there is your own, which is why I think it's about charting your own karma, charting your own destiny, all of that. It's a very interesting one. Yes. Uh, Tell me a little bit
I
about.
want to ask you something from
Yes,
your book.
yes. Please go ahead.
I wanted to ask you about the poem that you've written on page number 88 still. So my question to you is that when do we get our answers? When we are in chaos or when we are in stillness? What actually prompts us to get the answers?
With your permission, then may I read out the poem so people who don't get a sense of what I'm going to talk about? Let me read it out.
Yes.
Yeah. So my my bookmark is now coming down to a twig. So this is the book and page 88. Yeah. Still, I'm so far from where I need to be, but how can I get there if I'm forever moving? I wander from place to place, searching for answers to questions unformed, tripping over thoughts, and for the curtain to part. Perhaps the most extraordinary journey starts by being still and in one place. And the greatest distance is covered when you travel to the heart from mind, conquering both space and time. Sometimes I really wonder how I wrote all this. But again, it comes down to being mindful and, this
Yeah.
divine intervention or, some gift. And I'm not speaking, it's not me, but I'm just a channel. Um, though I say so myself, wow, yes. I think it is whether it's in
But it
chaos,
is a
no
wow.
matter
It's
how
a
much of
beautiful
chaos.
poem.
Thank you so much. We always look at and it comes from a lot of other debates I've had. I want to go away to a forest. I thought I'll go to an ashram. I'll sit still and I'll find something. What I wanted to find, I don't know, right? And that's why the questions are unformed. I don't even know what questions to ask. Sometimes you get a glimpse of some bigger reality or vastness which is outside yourself, and it's like you grasp at it, but it's there's a curtain that passes and suddenly bang, it closes, and you're grasping at it, and there's a lot of frustration as to why. How do you want to remember, right? And I think a lot of my poems are around that, remembering. What I finally discovered is you don't need to go anywhere, right? No amount of travel, no amount of going anywhere and reading up. And I've read a lot of books on everything, but finally, I think it if you sit still, that whole thing around mindfulness, I think a lot of answers start to come to you. The creative wisdom that is within all of us. We're able to channelize that. We're able to really harness that and start to wonder what the questions are, literally. It's like I can't put those questions into words, but I know what the concept is. I know what those questions, what it is that they're trying to address. It's a very nebulous one. It's like a riddle that you're trying to solve, right? So for me, even if there's so much of chaos, and sometimes a lot of these thoughts come out of chaos, and listening to somebody in the midst of chaos, something
That was my
strikes me.
thing. Isn't chaos a catalyst towards the stillness? Doesn't chaos lead us to stillness?
I mean, it's the duality, right? You need to know chaos to know stillness. You need to know light to know darkness. or vice versa. You need to have that
Perfect.
experience. So I think, yes, you're right. I think I can go hunting for peace and stillness, but it's not there anywhere. The answers are not to be found outside. Though I think they're triggers and catalysts to what we can discover for ourselves. I don't know if that kind of answered your question, but
Yeah, it
yeah,
makes sense. Yes.
and I think there's a lot of
I also want
yeah,
I wanted to discuss one more. The
yeah.
willows. There was a sentence in that, the page 68. Just one sentence in that which intrigued me. Did the house grow the willows or did the willow plant the house? I wondered. It explains so much. This explains so much about life. They say that the egg came before or the chicken.
Yeah, it's almost like, because if you look
No
at
one
it,
will ever
it's
know.
yeah, no one will ever know. It's like, did you build your life, or was it like premeditated for you? It's almost like that, right? Did you create
Yeah,
it?
because
Was
so
it
many
created for
times
you?
we feel something has triggered it, but it might be something totally different that has really happened beneath the layers. You know,
Yes,
there's
a
always
lot of,
so much going on, which
yeah, and some of these are. And when I look at the poems that I've written, a lot of it is like evolved, and I keep getting asked this about, sometimes the poems seem little like, someone asked me, were you depressed or was your heart broken when you heard? And I said, it's not about all of that. It's about a search, right? A lot of times these are not external things that, that frustrate you. It's when you're on a particular path of trying to understand what is, what next, what's outside all of this. I think it just leads you to examine every situation, examine your own reaction to a large extent, and that comes out as very different. So sometimes it's your own feelings, words. Sometimes what you think you're writing, what people interpret it as, is not what is being written about, right? Like the beloved. Now people say, oh, who's this beloved? I said the beloved could be a divinity, right? The search could be the search for your own guru, master, divinity, your own higher self, consciousness, whatever it is. But again, you can
can be
interpret it
anything.
for you. Yeah, it could be a lover, a spouse, or a child, nature, a tree, anything. So it's actually very interesting, and I always, it's like looking at a painting and wondering what the artist set out to create, and you as an observer or a receiver of that art also become an artist, because you're interpreting it in your own different way, and they're both creating another version of the art. So what if you don't paint it, or you
True,
didn't write it, right? So it's very intriguing.
true, very
Just
true. Very beautifully put.
yeah, I mean, we can go on about the whole process of creativity and writing, right? So again, how do you write? And I know that, I think everyone that I've met is a closet writer. They've all written something. There's always so much of creativity in everyone, whether they're an artist, whether they're writing poems. Everyone's writing something or creating something, and everyone thinks that, a lot of people think that it's something very esoteric and needs to be of a particular manner or something like that, right? But I think it's just about starting to put pen to paper and let the words flow. And it's not all that difficult,
Yes.
or you make it as difficult as it can be. How do you write? What's your sort of mantra?
Same way, it's just right. I think
Any,
writing is something I love since I've been born. So I love writing, anyways. So I started first writing about my life or my emotions for years and years. As to have a book, as to maintain a book and write my, emotions in it. So I think that helped me eventually to, come to a point where I wanted to write. And then I started writing in form of a poem, and that's how it became. Then I wrote around 200 poems. It might be more than that, and after that it came to this writing, where I am. So it's taken me years and years of like just doing something out of the blue, not even thinking that I would land up as a writer at one point of time.
So did
It's
you?
just happened later.
And do you sit at a place and write? Do you have like a routine, or how does it? Because we all are very busy
No, no
people, right? I don't think.
routines. No routines. But most of my writings happen at early wee hours
Okay.
when it's completely silence, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. I think that is my best time where I connect to myself and to God. I love that time. One is that, and I love one time that is the sunset, just the point when the sun is about to set. These are the two moments which are bliss for me. So I
I
connect a lot to myself and to divinity in those moments.
I love dusk as well. I think there's something very magical about dusk. It's like the curtains, the day is coming to an end, everything. There's just that transition period. And for me, the color of the sky during dusk, that blue sky, I think that is just the most gorgeous
Beautiful.
color, which
Beautiful.
you hope to. There is that mood, right? The lights that are slowly starting to come on, the yellow lights, and just the slowing down of the pace, and you're wondering as you're walking, what are all the conversations that are happening in each of those windows where the lights are starting to come on. It's just breathtaking. But
You just wrote
are there
a
certain?
poem.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I can just get into this reverie kind of thing. But
Yeah.
one thing I'm curious about is, you're a prolific writer. You do a lot of things apart from, how do you spend your day? And are there any, how should I say, hacks, life hacks you've had? Or some advice or things that have really worked for you as a person, you know, as a writer, as a working professional? Few mantras, if I can ask.
I think whatever you do, you have to do it with the fullest, in the fullest of your love and your passion. When you're passionate about something, I don't think you ever get tired. You can do it in any, time of the day and night. And the thing is that it will revive you. It'll never tire you. So whatever you love, whatever you're passionate about, if you follow that, that is where your life path or your life, your soul purpose lies into your, what is your soul purpose? So many people ask me, what is my soul purpose? What is my soul purpose? And I can only say that the soul purpose is about whatever you are passionate about. First, follow that, and then one thing will lead to another. So that is the best way to find, because we all have come here with a gift, and we all need to tap into our gifts, and we need to put it back into the universe, because as we are channels, we can say, right, the empty flutes, and the universe needs to play music through us. So let's be that empty flutes, and let's allow the universe to play that music through us.
That's wonderfully said. And one of the things that Hosanna, and hi Hosanna, and I see Sudha has also joined. Hi everyone. Hosanna says, while driving in Bangalore's traffic, the colors of the setting sun is
Wow.
the only thing that adds beauty to this chaos. And I think that is so wonderfully said, because a lot of times we keep cribbing about things. You can't change the traffic, you can't change the waterlogging. Things are going to be as they are. And this is exactly what I do. Sometimes I'm stuck on that highway from my office to my home. And sometimes you get home in like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and sometimes you're stuck. And that's a beautiful time, and you get the fantastic view of the sunset on the right, and there'll be chaos everywhere, and the colors are so magical. And a lot of times we miss the beauty that's everywhere around us because we're complaining about the traffic, and look at how that guy is driving, and look how that lady is honking, and all of that stuff, right? But there's a sunset, and that's it brings me back to, there's beauty around all, everywhere. It's almost like God has painted,
Everything.
you're in this traffic, my dear girl, my
Focus on
dear
the
man, but look,
positive.
I'm
I
painting a
normally
sunset
listen
for
to a
you.
lot of music.
Yeah, but
I
there
listen to
is the
music and I
universe.
immerse myself in the music. It's beautiful.
Yeah, but there is the,
So
there's
people
the
ask me, aren't you
universe
getting
saying,
angry?
I
You're
have
stuck in traffic.
painted.
And I'm like, so what?
Yeah, it's like there's a beautiful painting I've painted for you. Why don't you take a look at it? It's like art being created. There are clouds all over. There are birds chirping, or if you can't hear it, at least you can see them
Yes.
flying. And here we are
Yes.
cursing, right? So I think there is something around uh, around again, it takes us back to being in the moment and controlling our destiny. What does controlling our destiny mean? That, your own reaction in that
Again,
one
the
moment, you can
free
get
will
out
and
of the car.
destiny comes, The
Yeah,
destiny is you're
exactly.
going to be stuck in traffic. The free will is where are you choosing to look?
Your destiny is also how you
Are you
create it. You
choosing
can
to
get out
curse
of
or you're
the,
looking at the beautiful nature?
yeah, your destiny also is you can get out of the car at whoever's honking, take out a racket and have some road rage, and then lead to a different set of consequences, which is
Yeah.
exactly how you're creating your destiny, right? And that is also your free will.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you can sit back and, like you, listen to music, or like me, look out of the window and look at all those beautiful things that are there.
Exactly.
So I think we've covered a lot of those kind of things as well. And Vivek ji has joined. It's so nice that you were able to make time. Vivek ji is a wonderful, wonderful poet, and please do
Yeah.
check out his poems on Instagram as well as on Facebook. It's great to have him here as well. Uh, and I think we're now almost 45 minutes. We budgeted about half an hour for this. But anything else we want to add, Dr. Anita, on your philosophy of life, if you have to kind of succinctly put it? When you wake up, is there a mantra you follow saying today is this is how it's going to be, or something like that? Some daily routine you follow? Tell us a little bit about that.
I do have a mantra. It's something, in fact, I write every single day, and that's how the Inner Voice book came about. So I do write something that just comes in through for the day, and there's a mantra attached to it, and that's exactly what I then post to everyone, and then people like really wait for it. Like, they wait for the morning to they wake up with that thing, and then it's something I relate to. It's something I have learned maybe the previous day, or something that I'm intuitively feeling that I will need in the day. And some kind of maybe I've done a session and I've understood some kind of wisdom that has got downloaded. So I feel I should share that, and I do that. Like, I share it with myself and then with everyone else who I know, and it's beautiful because it gets shared to so many people. People just keep sharing it. And I do chant my mantra Om Namah Shivaya. That is something I'm very, very close to my heart. So when I wake up in the morning at 3 or 4, then I do sit and chant Om Namah Shivaya. And I don't make it like a very serious business or something which is like, if I don't do, then I'm not done. I'm not going to cross my day. Nothing like that. But if I'm awake and if I'm doing, I do a lot of my writings. I do a lot of my work at that time because I find it so silent, and whatever I want to create, I create in that moment. It's beautiful. So I start
Nice.
my day with, you can say, mantras and creations.
That's nice. Very nicely put. And I think that brings us pretty much to the end of this session. And again, we have a wonderful audience, quite a few people who've encouraged us, asked us questions. So thank you very much, everyone, for all of that. And just before we leave, I want to just talk about this book, which is The Inner Voice, which Dr. Anita Rajani has written, and then as well as this one. Check it out. It's quite interesting. I think it gives you a deeper understanding of what is love and what is relationship, and how things evolve, what are the various facets, and I think it just helps bring about a little bit of clarity about acceptance and how to live a little more mindfully. And last but not the least, this book is The Vast Empty, all of which you can find on Amazon. So please go ahead and, well, we have one question before we leave, and that is from Renju. What's your advice to strike the balance between being mindful in the single thing you do and getting contentment, giving time for all your choices? Practically, that's an interesting, it's a pretty big one actually, Renju, being mindful in the single thing you do. Okay, I'll tell you my mantra. I stop multitasking because I find that I'm not able to, you know, I'm not able to really focus on one thing and really enjoy that, because as I'm doing this, I'm thinking of five other things, right? So I've stopped being, so if I'm listening to music, I only listen to music. I can't listen to music and read a book. If I'm reading a book, I'm only reading a book. If I'm driving, perhaps sometimes I listen to music, but usually I like to hear the sound of the tires as they're crunching through the road, right? I mean, that heaviness, it's a fantastic feeling. So I would say that I don't know about the balance, but whatever you do, I think do it well. I, for one, have stopped believing in the whole theory of multitasking because everyone says, oh, women are great multitaskers and all that. I can tell you I'm not. I don't even think that concept exists, right? I think I think it's more sequential. You can actually get contentment doing many things, maybe one after the other. Maybe it's 5 minutes, maybe it's an hour, maybe it's 15 minutes. That's how, I would go about that. I,
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add, Doctor? Feel free.
I think one should know how to switch on and switch off. So if you're going from one to another, like be in the now completely there, then switch it off, go to the next. Uh, Timing, planning your day well, being mindful about everything. So whatever multiple choices, because we are multidimensional human beings, so we cannot be in one space. We are living a human life with a family, with karmas, with work to do, money to earn, children to feed. So there's a lots that we have to do in a particular day. So if we can manage to do everything in its beauty of wherever we are, I think that's mindful enough. Rest all is will come with a lot of training and experience and slowly being more and more into it.
Thank you very much. Thanks everyone for this wonderful session and spending your Saturday evening with us. And have a great weekend. And be mindful, live your life mindfully. I hope some of this was useful for you. I mean, it was very useful for us to see all your comments and your thoughts. Thanks a ton. All right then. Thank you,
Thank you
Dr.
very much,
Anita.
and everyone for spending that time to come here and even putting in these beautiful questions. I love answering them. So, and I hope we have answered everyone and they are really happy with the answers that we have given them. Thank you so much. And
Thank
so
you.
much, thank you so much, Turiya, for this wonderful thing. It's beautiful talking to you.
Thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. And good night and good day, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.